Week 4 was a pretty exciting one in the NFL. Relatively slow, actually, in terms of news, and I'll explain why later. But first, let me start by saying Atlanta, Houston, and Arizona continue to look amazing, dominating all their opponents to remain undefeated at 4-0. The 49ers dominated the Jets for a shutout victory, 34-0. New England showed they are still contenders. However, I'd like to see them actually beat a team above 500. Still, they did look great, at least in the second half. They looked awesome. Not so much that first half. New Orleans is still undefeated. Wait, I read that wrong. New Orleans still has not won a single game. Oakland surprised the entire world, except for me, when they defeated the Steelers last week, but they looked like themselves again this week as they got dominated by the Broncos. The Eagles won a very close game over the Giants, and in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, they survived multiple pass interference penalties and barely scraped away a 2-point victory because the Giants kicker missed what would have been her game-winning field goal. And speaking of game-winning field goals, did I mention that the Redskins won their game thanks to a last-second field goal by Billy Cundiff? Yes, that Billy Cundiff. Shit happens, I guess. Though, of course, the Ravens fans would wish it would have happened a few months ago. You know, but, still, I guess for a regular season game, it's so pretty good. Let's see if he can do that in the playoffs. Wait, it's the Redskins. It's going to be a few years before he gets to prove himself then. And the Vikings, they surprisingly proved that last week's win was not a fluke. Everyone expected them to finish at the bottom of the division, myself included. They are currently in first place right now. And yeah, I don't expect that to stay the same way, but they are contenders at least. They are for real. Whereas the Lions, wow. I don't know what's going on with them. Just wow. And one of the biggest surprises from last week is not the fact that Kansas City lost, but what happened after it. And I don't think, honestly, it just kind of took me by surprise. I'm not necessarily shocked, but it did take me a little by surprise. I wasn't expecting this. After the game, I saw a report that Matt Castle might end up getting benched because of his struggles. Apparently, Romeo Crennel stated that Brady Quinn could see some snaps with the first-team offense this week. And so, yeah, if Matt Castle continues to struggle, can't put up points, we could see the return of Brady Quinn. And there's really not much to dissect this week just because everything pretty much happened exactly like I expected. There are only 2 games that I actually got wrong. There was one, who would have guessed the Lions would be at the bottom of the division while the Vikings were in first place? And with St. Louis, Jeff Fisher really seems to have whipped them into shape. The Saints and the Rams are proving this year how valuable a great head coach can be. And the Rams have played pretty well lately, and they fought their way out of their basement, overtaking Seattle to claim 3rd place in the division. And yes, technically I was wrong about the Cowboys beating the Bears on Monday night, but to be fair, I originally picked the Bears when I first made the selection, and I wanted to stay with them, but I'm a Cowboys fan, and I was trying to be optimistic. My bad, okay? I got that one wrong. Still, however, I finished 12-3 with my predictions this week. Current record 41-22 on the year. And we're gonna go over a few injuries right now. There were a few that really caught my eye. The Jets had already lost Darrelle Revis for the season, and now Santonio Holmes, arguably their biggest playmaker on offense, some would say their only playmaker on offense, he's now gone to a foot injury. And unless Sean Green just suddenly turns into the 28-year-old LaDainian Tomlinson, the Jets are kind of looking like they're screwed right now, honestly. They've got a really tough schedule in the coming weeks. And I'll be surprised if they don't. I would be surprised if they don't go 2-6, honestly. And Lauren Robinson, the prize free agent pickup for the Jags, suffered his 3rd concussion. He had one during preseason, and he just got his 2nd one now during the regular season. He'll more than likely miss a little bit of time just because of the league's regulations and stuff regarding head injuries. And it's gotta be a huge disappointment for the Jaguars, and especially for fantasy owners. Turns out last week might have been a huge fluke. This looks more like the real Lauren Robinson. I think through his first 4 seasons, he played like 5 games because he kept getting injured and getting cut. And the Broncos, they have lost their starting center, J.D. Walton. He has now been put on injured reserve, and I consider this to be huge news because it's not easy to learn Peyton Manning's snap counts. And I think that in an offense that features Peyton Manning at quarterback, center has got to be the most important position. You could potentially see this negatively affect the entire offense. You couldn't. Hopefully not too much, but we'll have to see how this goes. But like I said, when you've got Peyton Manning as a quarterback, you've got to have the center who knows what he's doing. And also in interesting news, Pete Carroll has said that Matt Flynn could not replace Wilson as the starting QB because he's still injured, which I don't really pay that much attention to the Seahawks anyways, but I never saw Matt Flynn on the injury report. Apparently, though, he's dealing with an injury to his throwing arm, and they're not really sure how much he can if he could actually handle a full game, and so they're kind of stuck with Wilson no matter how bad he's playing. At least that's what I insinuated from reading that article. Who knew? And last but certainly not least, Brandon Merriweather hurt his PCL and his MCL, whatever the fuck those are, in a freak collision during pregame warm-ups. He did not play in this game. He's not expected to be back next week, and it's just kind of one of those things where it just shit happens. Once again, you really didn't see something like that coming. And we're gonna finish with the biggest and most important injury that happened, and it happened to a team that was on its bye week. The I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm really not. Coach Chuck Pagano is going to miss the rest of the season battling leukemia. They say he will be out for about 2 months probably, and even if he did come back to coach, there's no way that he'd be in it 100%. And it's a huge thing, and I'm not really sure how negatively the coach will be affected as far as their playmaking. But I know that personally, I've never been through it, but I understand it is a very tough situation, and my thoughts go out to him and his family. I wish him the best of luck, and I hope for a speedy recovery. It's just not something anyone wants to go through. And we'll finish this video once again looking up ahead to the Thursday night matchup between the Cardinals and the Rams. Just because I don't have any real time to analyze it, I'm gonna have to go with the Cardinals, who are 4-0 against the 2-2 Rams. But I would like to point out a disclaimer. I don't have as much time to analyze this game as I would really like. If I could, I would upload it on Thursday and say that, like Thursday, 10 minutes before game time, because I honestly think the Rams have a decent shot of upsetting the Cardinals. They're playing at home. They've done a pretty decent job with their pass rush this season. Their defense is playing pretty well. Cortland Finnegan, one of the better guys in the league. And, I think Steven Jackson is finally starting to look healthy. They might be able to really establish a running game this week. Maybe, I still don't know. He is hobbled by that injury, but it looks like he's finally getting into form. Bradford's done a good job. He's got some decent weapons to throw to. However, like I said, I don't have as much time to analyze this as I would like. I kind of just have to go with the Cardinals right now. And tune in 20 minutes from now when the next video goes up with a look back at Week 4 in fantasy football.